Now joined by TSN Hockey insider Chris Johnston. Chris, Auston, Matthews, Mitch, Marner, they are taking a lot of heat because of their performance in Game 5. We heard from both of them today ahead of Game 6. What's your sense of them?
Well, they seem pretty serious, as you might imagine, pretty focused. I thought Mitch Marner in particular is actually pretty light, too. And, he's being asked questions about, the turnover he had in Game 5 that led to the goal against by Jesper Boqvist. And so given, what's being said around them and certainly what they must be feeling in the marketplace and really what's just riding on this. I mean, this is their 9th playoff season as teammates with the Leafs. Obviously, a lot of changes to the team around them over those years, but this is as far as they've ever been in a playoffs, and they're obviously trying to get to the third round still. So, I think given everything, I thought that they were pretty on point. No sense of edginess or, they've been here before, but what they're trying to do is write a different ending than they've done before, and so we'll see if that translates on the ice.
Marner in particular felt a little light. Like right after I asked him about that play that led to the Boqvist goal, right after that, Kevin McGran of the Toronto Star asked a question, and he immediately said, "Hey, you got a haircut." So he seemed pretty light, certainly ahead of this elimination game. All right, Craig Berube, he made a couple lineup changes going into Game 5, right? He put David Kampf and Nick Robertson in. He took Pontus Holmberg and Kalle Järnkrok out. Today, going back to Holmberg and Järnkrok, what do you make of the changes?
Well, I wonder, Craig Berube talked about the team overthinking things for Game 5. I wonder if he thinks he overthought it for Game 5. There was a 2-day break before that game. Part of the change by taking Järnkrok out is he did break up what's kind of been the identity line, right, with Scott Laughton and Steven Lorentz and what had been Järnkrok. And I just wonder, he wants to get that back together. It's a line that he's used a lot on the road. I think he likes the way they get out there. They're finishing checks. Again, not necessarily the sort of line you're calling on to score a goal, though that would be nice. But they can play around in the offensive zone. And so, that gets broken up. And really, look, nothing worked the last game. I don't think it's really on Kampf and Robertson. Robertson did score after coming into the lineup for that result. But, did not produce the desired effect that Craig Berube was looking for on that game. So he goes back to the lineup that's won the games this season. I would expect it'll be the same lines, and he's changing back, but he's not changing things, I guess, of what has been, a pretty good pattern for the Leafs this year.
Yeah. We know he's sticking with Matthews and Marner together. He said that he split them up at times during the season, did not think it did much for the team. He believes in them. He trusts them. We'll see if that trust will be rewarded tonight. On the Panthers side of things, Brad Marchand, he's going for a 5th series win against the Leafs. Remarkable. He's been such a Leafs killer. We heard from him today. Interesting perspective from him today, Chris.
Well, he pushed back on the notion in particular that Game 5 was one-sided. That was actually a word I used in my question to him. And he said, look, I mean, they had a breakaway early in that game. They hit a couple posts at the start of the second period. And at that point, it's still just a 1-0 game. If it becomes 1-1, he's like, those little things do make a difference within the game. And so, look, I don't know if he really believes all that because, it's hard to get away from the fact, the Leafs did lose their grip, in the second period into the third on that game. I mean, it's 6-0 in the final minutes of a playoff game, not something you see too often. But, he trolls it perfectly. He doesn't want to add any, fire on another log on the fire kind of thing. But, he did mention the fact that the Leafs are being questioned, the fact they lost in a one-sided manner. He didn't say this, but maybe the fact that there's jerseys being thrown on the ice and everything, all the environment around that game, might actually light a bit more of a fire under the Leafs into this one, and they might want to prove some people wrong. And he called that a dangerous combination. So, it was a masterclass, 5 minutes for Marchand as it usually is. And, he's really been an excellent player in this series, this playoffs for the Panthers. And, probably one of the things that's tilted things in Florida's favor is they have him on the third line with Lundell. Those guys have given them a lot of good minutes, and the Leafs so far haven't been able to quite match up with that on the bottom 6.
Marchand just seems so comfortable in the spotlight. Actually, early in his media session today, he kind of paused. He's like, it's pretty loud in here today, and he seemed to like it and just kept going on. Brad Marchand. No lineup changes for the Panthers tonight. Evan Rodriguez did skate this morning, but he remains out. Paul Maurice confirming he's sticking with the same group tonight.